In this week's technology report, Apple automatically restarts phone after 4 days of inactivity. The first flying car goes on sale in Australia, OpenAI's Orion model reaches its performance limit, and Valve activates DLSS 3 support on Linux. Let's start with this week's highlight story. Apple automatically restarts your iOS device for security purposes if you don't unlock it for an extended period. The rumor first emerged from US law enforcement. They were sending an interdepartmental warning stating that while trying to extract data from iOS devices, the phone would restart itself after a certain point. To understand why this is important, you need to understand your phone's BFU and AFU states. BFU, before first unlock, is when your device asks for your password after restarting. Notice that you cannot use biometrics here, and if you don't enter this password when your device first starts, all files remain encrypted. However, after entering the password, your device enters the AFU. After first unlock state, all files and data on your device are now decrypted. After this, the only protection you have is your screen lock, and when your device is in AFU state, special tools can either crack the screen lock or extract the data from your device without breaking the screen lock. Not everybody has these special tools, but still some people like law enforcement can do this. They can get your data in AFU state. So what Apple has done is implementing a security measure. If the device isn't unlocked for 4 days, it automatically restarts. This puts the device in BFU state and all data becomes fully encrypted. This was initially a rumor from the law enforcement, but it has now been confirmed. Apple introduced this security feature with the version 18.1. It's a positive progress in my opinion. I mean, not everybody needs this, not everybody has an OPSEC like this, but still, it's better than not having it. And on the Android side, if you're asking if Android has this feature, GrapheneOS and CalyxOS, these are two custom ROMs, has had this feature for years. In both GrapheneOS and CalyxOS, you can even customize this timer. It would be nice if I could use GrapheneOS, but I can't. For those of you not familiar with custom OS on Android, GrapheneOS and CalyxOS mostly work in Pixel phones. So yeah, we cannot actually use it. Most Android users don't have this kind of feature, and I hope that this feature will come to stock Android as well. Now let's move on to some AI news. According to research by The Information, OpenAI is experiencing performance limitations with their new Orion AI model, which is currently in development. OpenAI co-founder Ilya Sutskever stated that they've reached a plateau in the AI model's pre-training and cannot progress further. Ilya Sutskever is not currently with OpenAI, but still his opinion is important. This confirms what AI engineers have been predicting. It's unlikely we'll see a major breakthrough with the current AI training methodology anymore. The training process will need to change for us to see different leaps forward. Google has developed an AI system that will detect and warn you if a call is a scam. When you answer the call, it'll listen to the conversation and display a red notification if it detects a scam pattern. This will be especially helpful for elderly people and those who are less familiar with technology. I mean, while anyone can fall for these scams, this feature I think will be particularly beneficial for these groups. And by the way, these calls will be processed offline on your phone, so Google won't have the data, though you might share some of this data with Google if you enable a telemetry setting. Now let's move on to this week's security news. Google will require all new mobile chipsets released with Android 15 to support the Android Virtualization framework. According to Android Authority's report, this requirement affects major chip manufacturers like Qualcomm, MediaTek, and Samsung's Exynos division. The Android Virtualization framework, first introduced with Android 13, creates isolated environments for security-sensitive operations like code compilation and DRM software, and technically enables full operating system virtualization. This mandatory inclusion of AVF in all chipsets from Android 15 onward will provide certain security benefits. However, it might also lead to more robust DRM that's harder to crack, and I don't like DRM myself. But apart from DRM, it's a positive development for security side on Android. Microsoft has released its November 2024 security update. It fixes 89 vulnerabilities, including 40 days, 26 privilege escalation, and 52 remote code execution. I recommend installing these updates. Now let's move on to gaming news. Valve added NVIDIA optical flow and DLSS 3 frame generation features to Proton Experimental. Now Linux users with NVIDIA cards can enable DLSS 3 in their games, which is great for Linux gamers out there. Let's move on to our misfits. VMware announced that its Fusion and Workstation products are now free for everyone. These products enable virtualization on your computer. They are now free for commercial, educational, and personal use. I personally don't use VMware, I use Work Manager, but it's good news for people who use VMware. The messaging app Signal has added the ability to start group calls with just a link. without creating a group chat. Anyone who has a link can join the call with one click. I think Signal has become quite robust lately. It has very good new features, but it's difficult to convince people in my life to use this. I live in Turkey and many people in Turkey don't really use Instagram. You know, when I look at my contacts list, no more than 5 or 6 people use it. But I really like the new progresses that Signal is doing. Flying cars have started selling in Australia. I mean, no joke. A Chinese company called Xpeng has developed a flying car and started sales in Australia. Prices start from $200,000. This all-electric vehicle weighs about 360 kilograms. It has a 75-kilometer range, claiming approximately 30 minutes of flight time. It can reach maximum speeds of 130 kilometers per hour and has a 2-person cockpit. It also has a ballistic-grade parachute for emergency situations. I mean, currently you cannot officially fly these vehicles in Australia yet. Government approval is required, regulations are required, and you'll need a flight license, not a regular driver's license. But still, it's exciting to see this technology becoming a reality. It was just a science fiction and now it's a reality. You can buy it right now if you have the money. You won't be able to fly it yet, but still, technology is there. France's privacy-focused search engine Qwant and Berlin-based search engine Ecosia are joining forces to develop their own European search index. I've never used Qwant because it's not available in Turkey, but Ecosia, from what I know, uses Google's infrastructure and plants trees with their ad revenue. I'm glad they're merging. Hopefully they'll create a good search index that can compete with Google. We really need something like that. YouTube is testing an interesting feature with a small user pool, swiping through horizontal videos. Like how we can swipe through videos in Shorts, they're testing this for horizontal videos. I mean, you might ask why would we need this? I guess they're hoping for more views or longer user engagement. I'm not sure if it will succeed. If you ask me, it shouldn't, because in YouTube there's this thing called thumbnails and titles, and that is a really important mechanic for YouTubers, right? And if you're just swiping through horizontal videos, that means that you're bypassing it. You're bypassing the titles and the thumbnails. I don't think this test will be successful on YouTube's end, and as a user myself, I wouldn't want to swipe through horizontal videos because, I mean, horizontal videos are long form, so you don't want to just, you cannot be like, okay, I'm watching the 10 seconds and then swipe. I mean, Shorts, of course, because they're short, you can swipe and it'll be fine. But still, horizontal videos, I wouldn't want to swipe them as a user, but I'm curious about what you think. Should horizontal videos be swipeable like vertical ones? Write your comments. Microsoft is killing the Mail, Calendar, and Contacts apps in Windows 11. After December 31, these apps won't receive updates, and you won't be able to send and receive emails unless you switch to the new Outlook app. The problematic part is that the new Outlook app contains ads. The normal email app that you had on Windows didn't have ads, but now you cannot use it because you will not receive or send email. So you'll need to use a different email client if you want to avoid ads. Microsoft has closed the Windows 10 beta update channel again. It was closed for 3 years until they reopened it 5 months ago. They've now closed it again without an explanation. Windows 10 still maintains 60% market share. Despite Windows 10 support ending next year, people don't want to switch to Windows 11. And I'm very curious to see how Microsoft will handle this. Based on the current situation, they'll likely need to extend security updates beyond their planned timeline. Now you have to pay $30 for 1 year extended update. I don't think many people will want to pay that. And 60% is a lot, and again, I'm very curious to see how Microsoft will handle this. Speaking of Windows 10, I'm sure there are Linux users among you, and as a Linux user myself, I noticed my SSD disk performing incredibly poor. This was due to a ridiculous default setting. You might be experiencing the same issue, and if you want to learn more about this, you can click right here.